Imagine this is you. You're about to verify the new supposed top 1 tower. At least you think. You make it to the final jump, but then you fail just to get sent all the way back to the beginning, causing one of, if not the worst fail in tower obbying history. Months of your hard work, dedication, effort, time, just for a close glimpse at the win pad, yet never to reach it. And just to add insult to injury, a day later, your verification spot for the tower is taken by someone arguably better than you, done in less time and done swiftly before the community can even process what just happened to you. And to add even more insult to injury, the player who stole the spotlight proceeds to call what could have been your verification a top 2. Not even the hardest tower in the game. Not even the ultimate goal. This is undoubtedly one of the worst outcomes that could ever happen to a player at such skill. Yet, unfortunately, I wouldn't be saying this if this didn't really happen to someone. And unfortunately, this brings us to our subject. Because ladies and gentlemen, this is A6IQ1, the unluckiest obby player. Let's start from years ago. Who exactly is A6IQ1? Quick note before the video continues on, I will be referring to him as simply A6. His name is obviously going to be brought up a lot, and I just can't get myself to say it so often. So with that in mind, let's continue. I can't be bothered to do extensive research, so we'll start based off the beginning of his YouTube channel. On January 20th, 2023, A6 would post a video on his channel of his completion of the then horrific Tower Vacant Hindrances. That alone was a rather impressive feat at the time, especially as it was deemed one of the hardest towers by then, as the difficulty ceiling of the game wasn't too high, as the hardest tower during this period was roughly a mid-high horrific, being the Tower of Eternal Void. Regardless, Tower Vacant Hindrances was already beginning to become an often occurring achievement, so this didn't really mean much. Motivated by the verification of the tower at the time by Tin, A6 would go for the Tower of Watermelon. He had a few hiccups along his journey. Having said that though, he had rather remarkable troubles with his consistency on the tower. This regardless had never ended up stopping him, as 4 months later and 1 month after his Tower Vacant Hindrances completion, A6 would complete the Tower of Watermelon as another new artist. This was a pretty decent step up in difficulty from Tower Vacant Hindrances. That's something we weren't so fond of at the time, as the tower back then was widely considered to be horrific. A6 would go on to later complete the Tower of Eternal Void and the Tower Vacant Hindrances Hardcore, which was a harder version of Tower Vacant Hindrances due to the removal of the highly remarkable safety net on floor 10, which also contains the tower's hardest game mode. These are obviously impressive achievements, and hell, I could never get myself to get good to the point where I could even beat one horrific. But his first major achievement would only come on April 9, 2024. As for the past 7 months before that fateful day, A6 would be grinding what would be his hardest achievement yet. This is the Citadel of Infinite Void. You know what? Let's pause it there. Like, I don't have the time for this. This was by far A6's hardest and most painful and tedious achievement yet. The most difficult points of his journey, however, would be during the middle and the end of his grind with the Citadel, as throughout the grind, he expressed that he was constantly demotivated when progress became slow and grim. Regardless, after 7 whole months of grinding his butt off, he would complete the Citadel of Infinite Void, becoming the 5th victor of what was the hardest Citadel/tower at the time. A6 is now with an expansive portfolio of towers under his belt. However, in spite of all of his accomplishments, he had yet to get the opportunity to verify a tower. And I don't think explaining what a tower verification is needed, as it's pretty well known throughout the community on what it means. Regardless, A6 won mostly for the next 6 days, excluding breaks, grind a tower in secret, being a tower that he had yet to be beaten. It was a tower with such difficulty eligible to be placed on the top towers list. If he completes the tower, A6 would have his first major verification under his belt, and thus, this leads us to the Tower of Spiritual Rise. Does the name sound familiar? Well, yeah, it's quite literally a remake and an easier version of Tower of Spiraling Fates, which at the time was deemed the hardest completed tower. It would probably be placed at number 11 on the list, just shy of making it into the top 10 hardest towers in Roblox. This would give A6 his first tower on the list with his name labeled alongside the tower. And personally, I'm getting rather bored of commentating on all of his achievements. But in summary, A6 was able to climb his way from just another bottom horrific player to completing achievements only a few people in the community were capable of doing. Now before we move on into the next segment, it's worth mentioning that 10 months ago, he did end up beating an even harder tower as his new hardest, being the Tower of Impending Doom. Let's move on to the main course, and that being June 28th, 2025. This will be the first day A6 would begin streaming what would not only be his new hardest, but the new hardest completion of any tower in the game. A6 claims that the tower is by far the hardest tower in the game. Nothing comes close. He would keep this claim firm for a large majority of his grind. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Because right now, this is the Tower of It Never Ends, the official sequel to the famous Ring 7 Tower of Elongated Runs. That tower alone is already a high peak catastrophic, yet its sequel being this tower is much, much harder. Tower of Elongated Runs holds its own hefty share of history. It's one of the most iconic towers in the game due to its sheer difficulty, and personally, being the secret hardest Candy Ito tower. But it's not the focus of the video. Initially, A6's grind was never meant to be there from start to finish. A6 stated that his primary objective was to get to the first dark floor of the tower, being floor 5. Much like in the tower's predecessor, once you get to floor 5, everything becomes dark up until floor 7. At the start of A6's first 2 INE stream, his personal record on the tower was around the beginning of floor 3. In the end though, he only bested his personal record by getting halfway through floor 3. He would stream the tower again the next day, further pushing his record on the tower off into floor 4. Which at the time essentially set a new world record. He would play the tower for a few more streams before taking a break from the tower for a few months, even temporarily grinding Tower Void for a while, besting his personal best of floor 5, being a nerf version of the old Tower Void, which would later extend into the Still Void that we all know and love today. Eventually, A6 would get back to grinding 2 INE, and he would begin streaming his grind on the tower on his second channel. Remember that this was his very first stream on the tower on his second channel, and he began the stream with his personal record already at floor 6. This stream would truly become something special, as not only would he get a new best this very stream, he would fluke the tower all the way to floor 9. He would unfortunately fail over an insticle floor around the end of floor 9. The same stream, he had also made it to floor 8 twice from the beginning, a part that mimics the famous insta-kill floor right at the end of 9 in the tower's predecessor, Tower of Elongated Runs. Now this immensely set A6 up greatly, with the possibility of verifying a new top 1 tower being in plain sight. Nothing could stop him now. Let's pause for a bit here, because throughout the entire video, you'll notice that A6's climb to the top had a few hiccups on some towers, but they ended up succeeding and benefiting him. This is where things begin to shift a bit, as now, whilst popular belief, including A6 himself, is in fact harder than anything else achieved in the entire obby community, there will always be competition. And I never mentioned this, But around a month before his faithful stream on TOINE, a new top 1 tower had just emerged, and it was placed swiftly at mid Unreal. Also somewhere similar to the difficulty TOINE was estimated to be. Because this is Stone Reborn. It was verified by Monster's blog on January 19th, 2026. This will become a major competitor and a serious threat for TOINE if it were to be verified. While popular belief was that TOINE was the hardest tower, public opinion would begin to shift. I'm sure a lot of you already know what will be happening going forward if you're investing into the top tower playing scene. But if you don't, keep Monster's blog's name in mind because I will be referring to him as simply Block going forward. Let's move on for now. A6 had been blessed with that one stream. It really seemed like the tower could be verified by him any day at this point. However, it almost seemed like A6 had used up all of his luck on that singular stream. As for the following streams, he wouldn't even be able to get back to floor 8 once. This must have been a rather demotivating period for A6. Faith would start to pick up again on stream 7, where he got to floor 9 again, and yet still failed to push through to floor 10. He would make it to floor 8 2 more times again. For the following streams, he would occasionally get to floor 8 on some occasions. However, A6 simply could not push through onto floor 9 anymore. It almost felt like he was given 2 chances on floor 9 but conceded. But on May the 5th, 2026, during stream 16, oh boy, it was made very clear that something had changed, as this singular stream would change everything.
I'm really gonna miss all potentiality. Most of all the days we never got to live, they are so real to me. I guess we must have fooled time when we made it through to this side of our memories. Time is all we have, but time is not for real. That makes us a little lost here. It makes existence itself a little hard to believe, but just have faith, my dear. I'm sorry if I made you think that all will be just fine. And I hate to break that we must die. I'm really gonna miss all potentiality. Most of all the days we never got to live, they are so real to me. And I will keep on full time, also from the other side of our memories.
I mean, can it get any more brutal? Months of grinding, taking on and off breaks on such an insanely difficult tower, just to get to the end and feel the very last jump of the entire tower. The win pad was right there in plain sight. A6 was just mere studs away from making obby history. But instead, he falls down onto an instant kill break right below, resetting all of his progress. It was right there. He could have verified the new hardest tower in Roblox. but it simply didn't happen. But I didn't answer the question earlier, because unfortunately, it could get more brutal. And it did get more brutal. I brought up Block and its verification on the top 1 tower being Stone Reborn. It's truly brutal to say this. It's also without a doubt that A6 is one of the best players in the obby scene. But it's widely and arguably debated that Block isn't just any ordinary top player. He may as well be our current best obby player in the entire scene. This is the same guy that verified the hardest tower, along with 2 former top 1s, being the tower's Spiraling Fates and IKEA tower. And I also didn't mention this a single time, but Block had also been grinding TOINE at the same time, actively competing in what was essentially a race to see who could become the verifier of the expected top 1 tower. Block had actually gotten to 410 in the past before A6 and had the chance to make it to 410, but he failed approximately halfway through the floor, which gave A6 the chance to surpass Block's record and almost fluke the entire floor. But we all saw and know what just happened. So, as a result, TOINE had still been yet to be verified. But this one all changed the very next day, as the tower would finally be verified. It had finally been completed. But unfortunately for A6, their verifier would not be him. Of course, this is a really impressive achievement and another one of Block's amazing achievements under his belt. But unlike his other completions, this one came with a lot more controversy. And you know exactly what I mean if you've watched the entire video up to this point. This almost felt wrong. The verification for such a tower definitely felt like it was reserved for A6 up to this point after all the struggles, time, and effort he had put into the tower. Yet Block was able to come in and complete the tower at a much faster time and beat A6 to it. Really just think about it. If A6 didn't end up failing the final jump of the tower, he could have had it. He could have become the verifier of what was presumed to be the hardest tower in the game. Unfortunately, that never happened, and it really did shatter a lot of hearts. Notice how throughout the entire video where I brought up TOINE as simply an expected or presumed top 1 tower? Well, Block ended up saying in his TOINE verification video description that the tower did not feel like the hardest tower at all, stating that making progress on Stone for him felt much harder than making progress on TOINE. Also stating that he believed that the tower's difficulty felt more like a top 3 rather than a top 1. Tower of It Never Ends would eventually be placed on the top towers list on May the 9th, 2026. And unfortunately, it would not become the new hardest tower in the game, rather being placed at number 2 on the list. Just shy of the tower everyone including A6 suspected to have been easier than TOINE. That same day, A6 would come out with a post on his YouTube channel, expressing how he felt about the entire situation.
Fail last jump, get sniped. See the tower you pour so much effort into get underrated, and get unlucky just for a pointless second victor title. What's next? This post isn't to make you feel bad for me, it's just to show that life can be unfair sometimes.
Just imagine how much history could have been different. Like, what if A6 never ended up failing the jump? What if that final jump simply never existed? What if Block never ended up grinding TOINE at the same time A6 was? It's truly a lot to consider, but unfortunately, we'll simply never know. Please give A6 all the support you can. He really deserves it a lot more than anyone else. As well as this, please maybe drop a sub, because I did spend a lot of effort in scripting, voice lining, and editing this video to document A6's tragic story with the tower. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Peace.